Hey everyone. So as I told you in the last stream that now we are going to implement our mailer. So let's do that. Okay. As you can see, this is our services folder. First of all, let me actually collapse all the open editors. So let's close this and also collapse all the files. Now here inside the services folder, I want to create a new file for sending mails. Okay. Because when we are, sending mails for OTP and also resending the OTP, we need this mailer services. So here I'm just going to write mailer.js. Now, in order to create our mailer service, we are going to actually make use of this third-party package called Node Mailer. So go to your browser and search for Node Mailer. Okay, and you will see this website which is nodemailer.com. Just click on this link. Okay, and you will find the documentation. Okay, how it can be used to send emails. Okay, and inside the usage, you can see how you can basically use it with your Gmail account. Okay. So I'm going to actually teach you step by step how to implement this mail functionality. So let's now get back to our code base. Okay. And follow what I'm saying over here. So the first thing is we need a package from npm. So let's just go back to our code base, browser again. And on npmjs.com, you need to search for node mailer. Okay. So this is node mailer. Okay, click on the package and here you can see it has got this weekly installations of 3.7 million, which is quite impressive. I'm going to actually install this. So copy the command, go back to your code base or pull up your terminal and paste the command. Okay, now we are going to install this package first of all. And if you have any doubts, please make sure that you are writing in the comment section. Hi everyone, I appreciate. Please write some comment, okay, to show some engagement. Now let's just get back to our code base and over here what we are going to do. Since we have got the package, so the first thing is we should import it at the top. So I'm going to write node mailer equals require node mailer. Okay. So we're going to get the package. After we have access to it, the next thing is we should set up the transporter. So what is transporter? You can read more about it in the documentation, but let me also explain you what is this transporter. So this transporter is something that NodeMailer is going to use in order to send the emails behind the scenes. So on the NodeMailer package, you can see we have three things that we can do: create a test account, create transport, or get test message URL. So what we are interested is in creating a transport, okay, for sending emails. So execute this method, and inside this we need to pass some configuration. So the first is we need to pass the host, okay, and the host will be smtp.google.com. Okay. Now please make sure that you are writing it as it is. Okay. Don't make any spelling mistake. Don't change anything. Okay. Just copy what I'm doing over here. Then the port will be 465. Okay. I want to set the secure option to true. Okay. And service, we are actually using Gmail. So let's specify Gmail. Again, don't change anything. Don't make G capital or M capital, anything. Okay. Like that. Just do what I'm doing. Then there is this crucial part which is called auth. Now inside auth, we need to specify two things. The first is user. Okay. And the second is pass. Now this pass is the password, and this is not your gmail gmail account and the password that you use to basically sign into Gmail. This is something that we are going to create. Okay, so first of all, let's go inside config.env, and here I'm just going to define two things. First of all, let's define the node mailer user. Okay, so I'm going to define these two things. Let's write node mailer underscore user, and this is actually going to be the you know the Gmail ID using which we are going to send the email. So here I'm actually using codingmonk22 at the rate gmail.com. Okay, and gmail.com. And after this, I also want to define my node mailer password. So let's do that over here. So I'm going to write node mailer underscore app underscore password. Now this password is not your Gmail account password. This is your app password that we are going to create now. So you need to go to your Google account, okay? And here you can see we have your manage your Google account option. Just click on that option, okay? From here you need to go to the security, okay? And in order to create an app password, first of all, please make sure that the two-step verification is turned on. Okay. So turn on the two-step verification at the Authenticator app. Okay. And you also need to set up your recovery phone, email, and backup codes. After these steps are done, you need to search inside this search input at the top, app password. Okay. Search for this thing and yes, wait for it. Then click on this app passwords under security. Okay. When you click on that, after enabling all those things, you are actually, it's asking me to authenticate. So let me authenticate it from my mobile phone. Okay. So just wait for it. I'm just going to do the authentication process. Let's see. It's connecting to my device. Okay. So now the authentication is done. Let's see what happens next. So when you do that, you see you get to this screen after the authentication is successful. It's basically showing me that I have already created one app password for Node Mailer. I created it on October 2nd, okay, and it was last used at 5 p.m. But right now it's actually asking me the app name. So when you are creating a new app password, just write the app name. Okay. So let's say I'm writing Chatty. Okay. Click on create button. After this, you will be presented with this 14 characters password. Actually, I'm just going to delete it. So don't try to use this one along with my email ID because this is not going to work for you. Okay. So just copy this password. This is only going to be displayed once. Okay. So make sure you copy it before clicking the done button. After that, click the done button. Let me also delete it right away so that it's not misused. Okay. Now I have already done that thing for myself. Okay. And actually, I'm not going to paste my password in this live video. Okay. I'm going to actually do it when I close the stream. So here, what I'm going to do, just access the environment variables and pass them over here. Let me see if there are any questions in the comment section. Okay. So if you have any doubts, just make sure to ask them. Then over here, first of all, we need to set up the .env. Okay. So inside my mailer file, what I'm going to do, let's see. Inside my mailer, I'm going to first of all import the .env package. So let's write .env, and this is equal to require the .env package. We have already installed it when we were, initializing our backend. Now, after that, we need to set up basically config the path. So here I'm going to write .config, and inside this, I'm just going to pass this object, and here in place of path, we need to basically point it to this config.env file. So I'm going to write dot slash, okay, and then dot slash, because we need to go one step up from mailer to services. Then we have config.env. So let's write config.env. So now after that file is correctly located, we'll be able to access the process env means environment variables. So here I'm just going to write const node mailer underscore user. This will be equal to process.env dot, and then the key name, which is node mailer user. So let me just copy it from here. I'll paste it over there. And let me also write const node mailer app password. Okay. This will be again equal to process.env dot, and then the key name, which is node mailer app password. Okay. Now please make sure that you fill the both the fields, which is app password as well as user. Okay. And these two things should be correct. Now we just need to refer the user over here. Let me just write the spelling correctly. Okay. Earlier it was used, now it's user. So I'm just going to write node mailer user over here, and in place of pass, we are going to write node mailer app password. So this is our transporter that we have created. Let me also write a comment over here for the explanation purpose. So I'm going to write create a transport using your email service. So we have created a transport using our email service. Now as a next step, I'm going to create the mailer function. So let's write mailer. Now, this mailer is actually going to be an asynchronous function because sending email is not going to be instant. It's going to take some time to process the email. So that is why I have marked this function as async. Okay. Now inside this, we are going to receive three things, which is the user's name, the OTP that we want to send, and the email at which we want to send the email. Okay. So email address at which we want to basically deliver the particular email. Now, before sending the email, we need to create something called mail options. It's nothing just an object containing few fields. Okay. So mail options is an object, and here I'm going to define two property. Two means to which email address we are sending the email. So this is the email of the recipient. So here let me just write recipient email. Okay. Then after this, we also need to specify the subject of the email. So the email subject, let's write it verify your Chatty account. Okay, verify your Chatty account. And after that is done, let's specify the HTML that will be basically sent inside the mail. So in order to basically send HTML, we should have a template. So that is why I've already created this template folder when we were setting up our backend. Now, what I'm going to do inside this template, I'm going to create a new file and let's call it otp.js. Now, what is going to happen inside this file? Actually, I'm going to just export a function from it. So let's write module.exports, okay, equals, and this is just going to be a simple arrow function that we are exporting. Now, this function is going to receive the name, email, and OTP. Okay, these arguments will be received because we need to personalize our email when we are sending an email to the user. HTML document. So let me just copy and paste it over here. So inside this function, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write return, and then you see this is the HTML for the uh, email that we want to show to the user. This is just a simple HTML structure. You can see email is not actually getting used over here, so I can just remove that. In order to personalize the email, we have used name. So you will find name inside the dollar sign curly brackets. So it will be filled dynamically over here, and also the OTP. Okay. So let's see OTP. So you can see over here, the OTP will be dynamically filled. Now, if you are wondering from where you are going to get this, HTML document, so let me tell you that actually I'm going to uh, give this HTML template to you inside the repository. So let me just go back to my browser, and over here I'm just going to navigate to github.com. Then I have a Chatty folder or Chatty repository over here. Let me just go back to it, and inside this you see we have this readme file. This is actually a public repo, github.com/codingmonkyt/chatty. Now inside this readme file, or let me actually also create another file over here. I'll call it just HTML file. So let me write create new file. Let's call it otp.js. Okay. Then I'll again go back to my code base, which is Chatty backend. From here, I'm just going to copy the whole function. Then GitHub inside my GitHub repo, I'm just going to paste everything, and let me just commit these changes. Okay. And now you see where you need to find this otp.js file. Okay. Just get it from here. I'll give actually this link in the chat section, and also you can find it in the description. So if you're watching this video when it's completed, this whole app is streamed live, then in the description you will find this link. So please make sure to check it out. Let me just go back to the live stream chat, and I'm going to comment out this link. Okay. Now let's get back to our code base again. So here now we have created our otp.js HTML file. Okay, sorry, JavaScript file, which is actually returning the HTML structure with name and OTP as the dynamic value. So inside this mailer.js, in place of this HTML, we need to pass that HTML. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write const OTP template, and this is going to be equal to require. Okay, and over here I'm just going to go one step back to template and then OTP. Okay, now we can just go over here inside this HTML and I'll write OTP template. Please make sure that you call this thing, and inside we need to pass two things inside curly bracket. These are the named arguments, name and OTP. This is what we need to pass over here. So this is our mail options. Now this is created, so we can start sending mails. Okay, now sending mails is very easy. Okay, we have our transporter and we also have our mail options. So the only thing that is left is to execute one simple line, and that is await transporter dot. On this transporter we can call send mail method, and inside this we just need to pass this configuration, which is mail options. So that's it. Now the mails will be sent using this function when we called mailer and pass these three arguments. Okay, now there might be some cases in which the mail is not delivered due to some error. So in order to catch those errors, I want to wrap it with the try catch block. So let me write try catch around it. Inside the catch block, we're going to get the errors. So here, whenever we get the error, I'm just going to console log that error. So let's write console.log. Here, first of all, I'm going to write error sending email, and then let's put the error over here. Okay. Then after this console log, I'm going to actually throw new error from this function, okay, which will be cached by the controller inside my auth middleware. Okay, so here I'm just going to write error sending mail. Okay, so let's now move this await line inside the try block. So I'm just going to move it to the try block, and let's also get the result of this executing this line into this constant called info. Now when the mail is delivered, a unique ID will be created. So I just want to, log that into my terminal. So I'm just going to write console.log, and over here I'm just going to write email sent. Okay, and over here I'm just going to write %s in order to, style this log. And here what I want to print is info dot message ID. So when the mail is delivered, we'll get a unique message ID, and we'll see that inside our terminal. Now you can see that we have created these things, but this mailer function, this needs to be used somewhere. Right now it's created, but you can see that mailer is if you hover over it, it will tell you that mailer is declared, but its value is never read. So we need to export this function from this file. So I'm going to write module.exports equals mailer, and now after that is done, we need to call this mailer in these places where we have this send OTP via email. So inside this function send OTP, let's now get back to our auth controller. Okay, and here we have our send OTP. So what I'm going to do here, we need to write mailer mailer, and you can see it's going to be imported from services slash mailer. After that is done, inside this we need to pass three things. The first is name of the user. So what will be the name of the user? User's name will be user.name. So let's write user.name, and then the email, again it will be derived from the user, so user.email. And the last thing, which is OTP that we want to send through email, is this new OTP that is generated over here. So let's write new underscore OTP. Okay, so now this step is done. Mail will be delivered over here, and after this we also have one more place where we need to do the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this line, and inside the same file we have another to do, which is inside our recent OTP. So here I'm just going to paste this line, but please make sure that this name, email and OTP is correct. So let's verify. Name, it will be user.name, email will be user.email, and OTP will be this newly generated OTP, that is new underscore OTP. So everything is correct. So that means this step is also done. Okay. So now your auth controller is fully ready to be integrated into the front end. But before that, before starting the integration process, I would like to also complete my socket handlers. So what we are going to do, next step is to complete the socket handlers. That means we need to plan and emit and listen for various events. Okay. So let me just check. how much time is still remaining. Okay, so it's only 21 minutes since we have started this live stream. So I'm going to just continue with this socket setup. Okay, so let me just first of all tell you that what is happening inside this register socket function. So I'm just going to go back to my socket server, and this is actually a function. Okay, you can see inside our server.js. After we created our HTTP server, we are calling this socket server dot register socket server function, and we are passing the HTTP server inside it. So that HTTP server will be received over here. Then using the socket IO package, we are basically creating a socket instance. Okay, we are passing server inside it, and along with some course configuration. Okay, this is for handling the cross origin request. So right now every origin is allowed to basically communicate with this server. After we execute this line, we get an IO as a response. Okay. Now, on this IO, we use this middleware. Okay, and we are actually trying to authenticate it before basically proceeding with other things. Okay. So what we are doing, we are basically implementing this auth socket. Inside this auth socket, we are passing two things: socket instance and the next function, which we can call to, pass the control to the next things. So let's just go inside this auth socket and see what we have written till now. So this auth socket is just a function called verified token socket, which receives two things: socket and next. Now, whenever a socket connection is going to be formed, we are actually going to pass the token, okay, inside the socket auth configuration. So we can extract that using this way: socket, on socket we have handshake property, on handshake we have auth property, and on auth we are going to pass this token. Okay, so we are going to extract the token, and after that we are going to verify it using the JWT package. So you can see we have imported JSON web token over here. Then we are calling verify method on JWT. Inside this, we just need to pass the token and the key. Now, this token key is actually going to come from our config.env file. So you can see over here, we have token key inside our config.env. So we are using that over here. But in order to use this, we also need to, configure our .env. So let me just write inside this file: const.env require, and then the package name, which is .env. After that, we need to write over here .env.config, and inside this we need to pass the path as a configuration. So path of this file, which is config.env, we need to go one step up from this auth socket file. So let's write dot dot slash, okay, and then config.env. Okay, so now everything is correct inside this file. You can see after we decode the JWT, we are going to set the decoded data as the user property on the socket. So that means on the further socket that we are going to basically process, we are going to get this access to this user on the socket. Okay, and in case if there is any error in decoding the JWT, then we are going to throw a new error called not authorized. Okay, and we are going to just pass that error. We are going to call the next function and pass that error to the next middleware. So this is what is going to happen inside the authentication. So this means that our WebSocket server, uh, this server IO, is also going to be go through the authentication process. Now after that is done, the first event that is going to occur is connection. So whenever a user gets connected to our socket server, we are going to listen for this IO.on connection event. And whenever a connection happens, we are going to receive socket as an argument. Okay. So inside this callback, you can see this is a callback. We are getting the socket. So we are just going to, log that user is connected, and the on the socket we have an ID, a unique ID. So we are also going to log that into the console. Then let me first write what we are going to do inside this. And there is no need to basically keep this set in role, so we can just remove it safely from here. Okay. So whenever a new connection happens, we are going to create a new connection handler. So whenever a new connection happens, we want to basically store the socket ID, also update the user's status to online. So all those kinds of things are going to be handled inside a handler function that we are going to create inside this folder. We'll call it new connection handler. So I'm just going to mark it as to do. Okay, we have to create a new connection handler. Then whenever someone sends a new message, okay, so here I'm also going to listen for another event which will be socket.on new message. So here I'm just going to write new message handler. Okay, and whenever a user gets disconnected, we are also going to listen for that event over here. So let me write to do disconnect handler. So whenever someone disconnects from the socket IO server, we are going to execute a function called disconnect handler for that. Okay. Then there will be also an event when someone is requesting the chat history. Okay. Let me explain you the use case. Let me first write over here to do. We are going to create a chat history handler. Okay. So chat history handler. After that, we are also going to create start typing and stop typing handler, because you must have seen that if you have taken the demo of this application, okay, I have already provided the preview link in the description. So please check that inside our application we also have this typing indicator. So for that we need to listen for start typing and stop typing event. Okay, so we also need to create handler function for these events. Stop typing, stop typing handler. Okay. So now let me just take you back to the application. This is the application that we are building. And whenever someone, what is going to happen, whenever a chat is loaded, the history is requested from the server. Okay. So let's say when I select this chat, I have a history of, some chat from this user. So that history is, requested from the server side. Okay, so that is why we have created this chat history handler. Okay, whenever someone sends a new message, function will be called. That function will be new message handler. Similarly, we have to handle the disconnect event, new connection event. Okay, so all these events needs to be handled inside this. And what we are going to do, first of all, let's set the socket event listener. So in order to set up a listener, we just need to write socket.on. Okay, and then this disconnect is a standard this disconnect, it's a standard event, okay, that will be fired whenever someone disconnects from the server. So here I'm just going to write socket.on disconnect. Okay, actually I should place it over here. Okay, socket.on disconnect. So whenever an event happens, we are always going to receive some kind of data as an argument inside this callback. But in case of disconnect, we don't need that. Okay, so because we already have the access to the socket, and that is the only thing that we need to, handle the disconnect event. Now, next to this new message handler, we are going to, create a custom event that will be called new dash message. This event will be fired from the client side. Okay. And when a new message arrives, we are going to get some data related to that message. Then we are going to, call a function over here, and we'll pass this socket from here and the data from here to that function. And that function will take care of creating a new message and doing the broadcast or emitting the event to the other users. Okay. Then similarly, we are also going to listen for this event. This is again a custom event, direct chat history. So whenever a client, selects a particular conversation, this event will be fired automatically. And this event is simply going to request us to give the chat history of that particular conversation. So again, we are going to receive some data and we'll use this data to make some function call over here. Then we are also going to listen for another event called start typing. So let's write socket.on start typing. Please make sure that the event names are, correct, because if you make a spelling mistake, then the events won't be catched, and if the events are not catched, the function won't be executed, so your functionality won't work. Okay. So similar to this, we are also going to have another event listener which is called stop typing. So let me write stop typing. Okay. Now you see we need to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have to create these 6 handler functions. Okay. So let's now go back inside our socket handlers file. and let's start creating them one by one. So first of all, I'm going to write disconnect handler.js. Okay. Similar to this, we are also going to create get message history handler. Okay. This message history means the conversation history. Okay. Between the two users. Then we also need to handle the new connection. So for that, I'm going to create new connection handler.js. Okay. Then we also need to, uh, you know, handle the new message event. So here I'm going to write new message handler. So whenever a new message arrives inside our socket server, we are going to execute some function written inside this file. Okay. And then we have our start typing handler and stop typing handler. So let me write those things over here. Start typing handler.js and stop typing handler.js. Stop typing handler.js. Okay. So now we need to create these functions, and each of these functions is going to handle their responsibility, which is, as the name suggests, what they are going to do. After we create those functions, we are going to, map them over here, which means calling them inside our, to do wherever we have written these to do comments, we are going to call those functions. So let me again check if there are any questions in the comment section. Okay, so there are no comments right now. Okay. And since in this video we have set it up our mailer service, and also we have defined all these socket listeners. So in the next live stream, which I'm going to do after a very short break, I'm going to create all these handler functions. I'll explain you the logic behind each one of them. And when we create these handler functions inside them, we are also going to see how to emit events, how to broadcast events. Okay. So we are going to see all of that in the next live stream. And the next live stream is also going to be the last one for the backend, because we are almost done with setting up our backend. Everything is, set it up correctly. So that will be the last live stream for the backend part. Then we need to just, complete the integration part on our front end, and the application will be complete. So thank you everyone for watching this live stream. I'll see you in the next one.